First at 5. From the University of Florida's College of Journalism and Communications, you're watching WUFT News.
Welcome to WUFT News First at 5. I'm Amy Galo.
And I'm Isabella Leandri. Thanks for joining us. Wild spaces in public places returns to the ballot in November. That means Alachua County voters get to decide if the sales tax should increase by another half cent.
WUFT's Jameshia Carroll went to the campaign kickoff to find out why supporters say the funding is essential. Jameshia?
Thank you, Amy and Isabella. I'm currently live from Hogtown Creek Headwaters Nature Center, where the campaign kickoff was held. Wild spaces and public places currently affords land conservation and park building and repairs. If the new tax referendum is approved, funds will be going towards road repairs, firehouses, and affordable housing. Hogtown Creek Headwaters Nature Center is the place this mother and son duo enjoy spending time, and former soccer coach and Wild Space Public Places supporter Becky Burley wants to keep it that way.
I think the part that I am most passionate about is the recreational space and parks, because I think it's getting harder and harder to get youth outside, and it will be really difficult if we don't have the spaces in order for them to do that.
Wild Spaces and Public Places surtax referendums previously passed in 2008 and 2016. Alachua County Commissioner Anna Prizia.
The reason that we're really pushing for this 1 cent is because we can't have two sales tax. The statute specifically says we can have one infrastructure tax of up to 1 cent. So we can only have a single one, and we really need the funding for our roads.
Gainesville Area Chamber of Commerce CEO Eric Godet says if the new surtax passes, the funding will be split between parks, land conservation, and infrastructure, including road repair, fire stations, and affordable housing.
We know that we need to invest in roads. We know that we need to invest in our fire department. We know we need to invest in affordable housing. We know we need to continue to protect our water supply. And this just falls right in line with collaboration.
Longtime Alachua County community member Alvaro Ortiz wants the referendum to pass.
That is probably one of the best taxes that we could have. I'm very proud to be part of that. I don't mind paying that tax, and I think that it just, having all these beautiful parks, it just enriches our community so much.
We didn't find anyone today who was against the referendum, but of course, the ballots will tell the story on November 8th. Live in Gainesville, Jameshia Carroll, WUFT News.
Fiona strengthened into a Category 1 hurricane over the weekend, striking the southwest coast of Puerto Rico. We've been tracking Fiona for days, though it's now expected to stay at sea and not threaten Florida. The National Hurricane Center said maximum sustained winds have increased to nearly 80 miles per hour. Fiona could deliver 12 to 16 inches of rain, and in some spots as much as 25 inches. Hundreds of people have been evacuated or rescued due to life-threatening flooding on the island. Puerto Rico's ports have been closed and flights out of the main airport have been canceled. More than 1 million people are still without power, but the grid there was devastated by Hurricane Maria almost exactly 5 years ago today. Maria made landfall on September 20th, 2017, claiming several thousand lives and causing massive damage. Maria was the first Category 4 hurricane to directly impact Puerto Rico in 85 years. It's just devastating to see the images coming out of Puerto Rico right now.
It really is, but thankfully the storm isn't projected to hit Florida. WUFT's Mariana Larsen joins us now with the latest updates on Fiona.
Right now we are keeping an eye on Hurricane Fiona as it makes landfall on the Dominican Republic and continues to impact Puerto Rico. Right now the heavy rains are dumping on both islands, leaving them with major floods and power outages, and it's going to continue to impact both islands into the night. Once it leaves the coast, it is going to turn to the northeast and turn into our first major hurricane of the season, becoming a Category 3 by Tuesday. Thankfully, it is not going to impact Florida or any of the continental U.S. by that matter, but it is going to impact smaller islands such as the Bermuda. Turning to our climatological information, we are right at the peak of our hurricane season, as you can see by the graph. And although we are declining in our storm frequency, we are expecting to see activity through mid-October. Stay tuned with me and I'll give you the local forecast soon.
Federal agencies are investigating a fatal small plane crash in Marion County. A plane went down Saturday evening in a heavily wooded area northeast of Citra. The Marion County Sheriff's Office and Marion County Fire Rescue worked into the night to locate the wreckage. 2 people in the plane died. Their names have not been released.
The body of an Orlando middle school student has been recovered from Lake Fairview, where he died during an accident during rowing practice. There were reports of a lightning strike in the area Thursday and the boat capsized. After a rescue effort, 1 of the 5 students was missing and another needed hospital treatment. The student who died attended a Catholic academy in Almont Springs. People have created a growing memorial outside of North Orlando rowing in the student's honor.
The world paused this morning to say goodbye to Queen Elizabeth II. Leaders from around the world joined the royal family for the state funeral. NBC's Jay Gray is in London and filed this report.
A very somber and for some a very difficult day, to be frank, here in London. The public mourning is coming to a close after the death of Queen Elizabeth, though I'm not sure everyone here is quite ready to let her go. A state funeral this morning at Westminster Abbey, attended by 500 leaders, dignitaries from around the world, including President Biden and the First Lady, Dr. Jill Biden. They were in attendance, and it was a funeral you would expect for a queen, really wrapped in all the cloakings of the royal family and the formality of what you would expect in what is truly history unfolding during that funeral. This is a monarch that most here in the UK have known all of their lives. They haven't ever had a different leader to sit on the throne here, and so for them to say goodbye has been very difficult. After the funeral, her coffin pulled through the streets of central London, people throwing flowers, and so many just quietly paying their final respects, then loaded into a hearse where it's moved on to Windsor Castle, and of course now it's the family's time. There will be a private service for her that only a few select close friends and staff members that had served for the Queen during her time, they taking part in that, and the burial at St. George's Chapel, again on the grounds of Windsor Castle. What happens next? Well, for the royal family, another 7 days of a mourning period. So they'll get their time to kind of pull back now. No royal duties, the end of the public mourning here. But again, I'm not sure that anyone here or in places across the Commonwealth are quite ready to let Queen Elizabeth go. That's the latest from here in London. I'm Jay Gray.
We'll be right back with more local stories
right after this break. We're heading to Gainesville's International Fair when we return.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
The Greater Gainesville International Fair and Longest Table took place over the weekend.
People enjoyed music, food, and performances. WUFT's Fareeha Abrar gives us a taste of the culturally inclusive event.
Awakaba and Aisa moved to Gainesville decades ago from the coast of West Africa. It's here at the Gainesville International Fair and Longest Table that they most remember home.
It's a good idea from the city to do this kind of event where everybody from anywhere can meet and talk, exchange, and learn. That's really important here in Gainesville, I think.
The fair showcases cultures as presented by members of the community to make people from all over the world feel welcomed. Akila Kudus serves as a board member of Welcoming Gainesville and is the director of a local charity organization.
This energy is all love. I don't know when people talk about difficulties at this time, I look at this love and I'm like, everything can be taken care of because there is more love than difficult. And difficulty is always there for everybody.
She immigrated from India over 50 years ago with her husband. She craves community.
Oh, it's so important to have a community. When I came here, I found friendship in the community. By the grace of God, I have a beautiful family and I have my family, extended family, but you still need your community.
Over 30 vendors participated at the festival held at the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Center. Local attendees, whose origins are from places all around the world, like Thailand, France, and Brazil, gathered over authentic dishes and cultural performances.
Here at the International Festival, there are a ton of food for people to try, such as food from the Ivory Coast and Senegal, where I heard the original jollof rice is from.
And a few people came from out of town, like Pakistani food vendor Sizzler Tandoori traveled from Orlando, along with Anastasia and Igor, who traveled from Novorossiysk, Gainesville's Soviet sister city.
And I like the city very much. I have very many friends.
Bangladeshi immigrant Srishti Das Gupta performed a classical dance for the crowd.
I want to share this with my friend that please meet your culture to others, yes, and share it, yes, over the world, yes.
Members of this event believe what is most essential to a diverse community that stresses inclusivity and unity is sharing one's culture. Fareeha Abrar, WUFT News.
SpaceX successfully launched another Starlink mission last night after 5 days of delay. The Falcon 9 rocket took off from Cape Canaveral shortly after 8 p.m. 54 Starlink mini satellites were released over the North Atlantic Ocean. SpaceX has delivered more than 3,000 units into low Earth orbit. Frontier Airlines says it may use the internet delivery system, provided it gets cheaper over time, as a way to offer Wi-Fi onboard planes. 54 satellites, that's pretty impressive. You know what else is impressive? The amount of rain we've been getting here lately.
Seriously, I just want one day where I'm able to enjoy some time outside. Mariana, will I be able to do this?
Well, actually, it is looking pretty sunny out there right now, and we are going to see some sun later in this week's forecast. Stay tuned with me, and I'll tell you all about it.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
Taking a look at our current radar, you can see all these storms popping up across north central Florida, but it's nothing too major right now, although if you are leaving from work soon, you might catch a bit of rain, especially if you're tuning in from Daytona Beach. Let's take a look at our current temperatures right now. It is not scorching hot, but it is pretty warm outside. Right now in Gainesville, it is 89 degrees, and across the board, it is feeling like mid to upper 80s out there. That nice Florida heat kicks in again. So let's take a look at our evening planner. We are expected to see a chance of storms in the early evening hours up to about 10 p.m., but overall it is going to look mostly cloudy outside. We are expecting temperatures to hit lows in the lower 70s. Now we are also expecting to see some patchy fog in our area tomorrow morning, especially across the I-10 corridor. So if you live in Lake City or Stark, make sure you're keeping an eye on that, especially if you have early morning plans. Let's take a look at our hour by hour for tomorrow. We are expected to have a calm morning, but by the afternoon, those rain chances are really going to start to pick up, and temperatures for tomorrow should be just about the same as they were today. We're expecting to see highs in the upper 80s and lower 90s all across north central Florida. Gainesville right now is going to be at 89 for tomorrow's high, and it is going to be pretty hot out there tomorrow as well. Looking at our future track for tomorrow, we are expected to see a bunch of rain popping in and out, those scattered showers, but overall it is going to be not a washout. Just keep an eye out for that rain. Now let's take a look at our 6-day forecast. We're going to see sun later on in the week, just in time for that weekend. We're going to have temperatures in the upper 80s and lower 90s. Back to the desk.
It was a good weekend for NFL teams in Florida.
Yes, it was. The Dolphins, Buccaneers, and Jaguars all picked up wins on Sunday. Some of those victories included historic performances. We'll hear about that and more when we come back.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
Welcome back to sports. I'm Shawn Humphrey. Gator football dropped to number 20 in the AP poll after eking out a win against South Florida Saturday night. USF ran the ball exceptionally well, combining for 286 yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground, gashing the Gators and giving them quite the scare at home. As the team prepares to go headfirst into the belly of the beast at Neyland Stadium, they'll look for a bigger performance from Anthony Richardson. The quarterback finished with just 112 passing yards and was picked off twice. Richardson says while some of the criticism bothers him, he is still focused on getting better.
At first, it was definitely getting to me, because you're like, Bro, you're a quarterback. How come you don't have any passing touchdowns? You have 4 interceptions. I mean, I'm throwing the ball, but just not getting in the end zone. So it was affecting me a little bit, but now I'm just like, okay, it's football. You know, it's going to come. I just got to let it come to me. I can't try to force it. Just got to let the game be the game.
Is set for 3:30 on CBS. We'll move away from the gridiron to bring you close to home. The Easton Newberry Archery Center hosted a sports festival over the weekend. For the low price of free, members of the community were able to come together, eat, and give archery their best shot.
The Easton Newberry Sports Festival is an annual event that allows patrons to try out handling a bow and arrow. Community members learn from experienced coaches who burn with passion for the sport.
We've started this event to kind of bring attention to sports or other people in the area that want to have activities and to promote our own center and archery as a whole. As part of these foundations, that is kind of our mission to build and support the sport of archery. So this is kind of where that started from.
Attendees were able to learn the basics of shooting at the facility's indoor archery range, and they had a handful of activities to enjoy outdoors. Before the rain clouds rolled in, they made use of a more traditional outdoor range next to a line of vendors and an area for archery tag, Easton Newberry's take on dodgeball.
This is wonderful. This is wonderful. We're actually actually introducing new young people archery. Anybody can do it, no matter what your age is. Anybody can shoot a bow and be accurate with it. You just need to be exposed to it.
Some came for family fun, others for camaraderie, and others just to see what the fuss was all about. One thing was for sure, the love for the sport was universal.
I can't explain it, man. Once you start getting better and you start hitting what you're looking at and just doing it, it's almost an escape from reality for me, and almost like a meditation, you know.
The facility will host a state championship tournament next weekend, and a lot of the coaches on site are more than excited to watch the best of the best get their chance to shine. That's your look at sports. I'm Shawn Humphrey.
A Wisconsin middle school teacher is getting extra credit for saving an owl caught in a soccer net. Science teacher Abby Ward grabbed scissors and her heavy-duty chemistry gloves to attempt a rescue. It was a risky great horned owl, which are born to hunt, so they can grow large with a sharp beak and sharp talons. Ward says this owl was watching her closely, and she thinks it knew she was trying to help. As soon as it was free, it flew to a nearby tree and then into the woods. I don't think I would have had the nerve to do that.
At least there was a happy ending. Before we go, one last check on the weather.
Tomorrow, expect some showers, but it won't be a complete washout. We'll have some scattered showers around the area, but just keep an eye on the sky and you'll know when to grab your umbrella. Here's the 6-day outlook. Expect to see some sun later on this week, just in time for the weekend. Temperatures are going to be in the upper 80s and the lower 90s. Back to the desk.
Thanks, Mariana. BBC World News is next, and the PBS NewsHour is coming up at 7.
But your Florida news is always on at WUFT.org. Have a good night.